We can't blame young men for carrying knives, not enough is being done to protect them. In 2016, a young man from my estate died after being stabbed several times with a screwdriver. His killer was sentenced to life. My church held a prayer vigil on the estate, praying for comfort and peace. There was heavy police presence at the vigil his family held, which I found insulting. When Rory needed the police to break up the conflict that ended his life, they weren't there, and his mourning family are not criminals. There is still a memorial bench on our estate, right next to the bus stop. People used to leave flowers, photo frames and Rory's favorite drink there. I suppose that's what you do to mourn a life that was full of potential, like yours, that is now gone. None of it will bring him back to his loved ones though. I don't know the details of what happened in the house a minute's walk away from mine, but I can certainly understand why some young men might feel safer carrying a knife. London Mayor Sadiq Khan's 2017 campaign had the slogan "London needs you alive. Don't carry a knife." But young men do not carry knives because they want to die. They are trying to survive, in difficult circumstances and difficult postcodes. I know of a young man who was not involved in any criminal activity. He visited his friend and got stabbed on the way back to his car. He survived, but didn't report the crime. The person who stabbed him might still be free. When I heard that a young man I knew from our area had a knife, my initial response was to tell him to get rid of it and not be so stupid. I should have listened and been more compassionate. The stories of lives affected by knife crime are so widespread that sometimes we become desensitized. Nashanis Brand was stabbed and killed. The youth worker had warned the police that he was being targeted by gangs. His mother's words to Channel 4 News were that the police did not do enough to protect her son. Young men, even those not involved in crime, are walking around with a real threat of death or serious injury on their shoulders. Society does not protect them from being stabbed, so who are we to tell them how to protect themselves? Recently MOBO award-winning musician Jehus, Momadou Jallow, was arrested for knife possession. What has not been widely reported is that Jehus was hospitalized in 2015 after being stabbed. Temim Wao, who campaigns to combat youth violence, said that instead of spending money on campaigns, the authorities should train youth workers to offer trauma intervention to victims. Instead, there is the widespread sentiment that young men are solely to blame for these issues. Simply telling them not to carry knives when their streets aren't safe without tackling structural issues is victim blaming and reductive. When young men carry knives, situations are more likely to escalate, but there are wider issues that make young men susceptible to crime. Research suggests that white working-class boys are least likely to go to university. Black Caribbean pupils are 3 times more likely to be permanently excluded from school than other children. Amnesty International UK has raised concerns about the Metropolitan Police's gangs matrix. -99% of people on the list are men and 78% of them are black. Being listed on the matrix can affect your access to public services like housing. Amnesty has said that justification for placing people on the matrix is inconsistent and unclear. Toddler and Buggy called a NR by stranger and race hate attack cleaner overcome with emotion after students raise money to send him on holiday. Boy, 16, arrested for murder after man, 20, is stabbed to death in North London. More recently, Home Office Minister Victoria Atkins has called for the families of violent criminals to be evicted from their council homes. Taking a hard line is the popular stance, but it needlessly marginalizes many. For young men who persevere despite their marginalization, like Rory, a carpenter saving to buy a house with his fiancée and so many others, the streets are still not safe. Police are failing to solve 63% of knife crimes committed against under 25s. Telling young men to put down their knives may be a step in the right direction, but we must do more than that if we are serious about keeping them safe. More. Sadiq Khan's #campaign won't solve London's knife crime problem. More, EastEnders spoilers, real-life knife crime victims to tell their stories in Shakil Kazmi's funeral episode. More, mum's plea to end knife crime after machete gang murdered her son, 17.